welcome back to another tutorial. Part 3. So this time, our character had a little this is just learning the angles of this character here, so just want a little head shape. Kind of in the back here, because it's longer. We'll do that. In my ear shape. Principle as in all files. Notoriously difficult to get. We're always going to be rebalancing a basic shape. So it's not make it within reason here. To the neck area comes back in before it cuts out rather harshly, and that's kind of where our glutes will be. So, and like I said, it's probably going to be unrecognizable when we're done, so don't waste too much time trying to get that perfect right now. So we'll put our shoulders in right here. Then I just like putting kind of an angled line like that. And then next, put in your neck the way that you want it, because the neck we can just get done right now. And with that, it will also help us because now we can see the neck, which helps us know that we kind of can't bring our collarbone too much lower than where the neck is actually located. So, something like that. And then I will just make this neck appear thinner by moving the back of it. So from there, I'm just going to draw in my little rib cage shape, which, if you remember, for our giant character, we've been bringing just below this sort of third block here. So I'm still going to do that, like so. And mark that off. Then I'll put another angled line just below the pit here. That'll kind of help us map out where the breasts are going to fall. And then from there, I can draw in here. This is our little hip line. So I like to draw a little straight line here, right at the end of the rib cage, and we're going to put the hips just behind that. That's because our female characters are curvy, so they're not actually just completely flat here while she's standing. So we'll do this. Then we will give a little tummy. Nothing too crazy there. Do this. Just gonna bring this part here and make it a little bit thicker. Alright, from there we can kind of see where we wanted our hips to stop. And just drawing kind of the similar shape to what we would always draw for the hips. It's a little bit different because of the glutes, but we're kind of trying to follow our little spine guideline here, keeping it coming out. And again, we're gonna heavily adjust this as we go on. Like for example, I'll probably not make it that long, but we'll figure it out as we go. But first, we want to put in our legs. So I'm just going to do a straight line going down like this. And remember, our knees are over here. However, since we're standing from the side, the kneecap itself is actually kind of on top of the bones there. So we don't want our kneecap here. We actually want to bring it out in front of it. So we'll put our kneecap right there. From there, we can bring this in and we'll wrap around the knee like so. And then just trying to get, I like starting with the thigh back here, because we'll shape the glutes and stuff around it. You know, this is just a basic guideline, but we'll shape the glutes around this, but this way we can ensure that our thigh is the shape that we want and the size that we want. You can make them as thin or as big as you want. So if you wanted it thinner, you could, you know, make it thinner up here. You could bring this in a little bit more, but for right now, I'm going to keep it relatively ample. Like this. And then from there, we'll have kind of a slightly concave line. It doesn't need to be insane, but just a slight bend in it, where we mark off where our foot's gonna go. For my giant characters, I like to make sure they've got relatively strong looking calves just because they're carrying a lot of weight. So I'm gonna make sure her calf is large. Shape this down a little bit. Then from there, super basic foot shape. Again, this isn't a foot tutorial, so I'm not too concerned with how my foot actually looks down here. I just need it so I can make sure my character is balanced here. So I'll kind of move this around. From here, I guess I'll just put in the arm real quick since it's pretty straightforward before we start balancing the glutes. So I'm going to drop in my shoulder line. I'm going to follow this little pit line down here. Bring in my forearm, elbow, which I'm going to bring this part up a little. There we go. And then super basic hand shape. Not trying to spend too much time on the hands for this tutorial. There we go. From there, we could quick drop in her breast. So we're just kind of going to follow off the chest and swoop back in. So there we go. That's the shape I like. And again, you're just kind of looking for shapes that look nice. So we're just trying to establish that. So there's a good enough shape for me. So actually turned out pretty good. So we'll do that, and we're just trying to keep these characters, since I'm drawing these characters side by side, you know, it's all one character, so I'm trying to keep the proportions pretty close. So that ended up working out, dropped in right at the correct spot. So from here, we now want to draw in our glutes. So we can imagine our spine is tucking in through here. It juts back out down this direction, like so. And so off of that, we can figure out what we want our glutes to look like. And they can be as thick or as small as you want here. We'll go for kind of an in-between. And so same principle, you kind of want it to be kind of flat near the top and then really curve it in near the bottom. So we're going to curve it and swoop it like that. Alright. From there, now that we've established what our glutes actually look like, I'm going to bring this in slightly, like so, and then I can do that. Alright, so now, again, if you're trying to work on an actual piece and push your limits here, then you'll really want to take a minute, take a breather, and just make sure that everything's balanced the way you want. For the sake of this tutorial video, though, I'm not trying to spend too much time working on this, so I'm just gonna call this good for me, and I'll start doing my line art. And I'm not too worried about the weight of my lines. I'm not trying to practice that right now. I'm just trying to get this tutorial done, so I'm just gonna work rather quickly here and kind of walk you through what we're doing. So again, so for this one, I guess I would prefer to start with my hand over here, since it's kind of got nothing blocking it and impeding it. So I'm going to drop that in, put in the forearm, give a little curve right here for the pit. Then I'll bring this up and in like so, giving a tiny bump at the shoulder for our collarbone there. Then I'll connect to my neck. Kind of coming back, not quite to the very tip of the shoulder, but pretty close to it. Connect those. I guess I need to thicken my neck a little bit. Looks kind of odd there. There we go. From there, give a little mark in. Do this. Then I will put my chest in. From there, I will do the hip and leg. So. Then I can do the glutes. And again, you're just trying to work until you get a shape that you like. So once you get that shape, you can move it around as you please. But for right now, we'll call that good. From there, I will connect those two. I will add in my belly line. And then I can add in my legs. I guess the backs of the legs that we haven't done yet. Like this. Okay, that kind of flattened on me, so redo that. There we go. Then super simple foot shape, like so. Alright. Yeah, so that's pretty much all we're looking for there. Again, I like just trying to stretch out the character a little bit, especially if you're just doing a single portrait of just the character. You don't want a bunch of trees or other people in it. Then this can be a good way to help show that this character is, you know, a lot taller than normal for sure. So you can kind of mess around with the proportions. You can kind of get a little bit looser with it just because it is a giant character. They're not, you know, they're going to be a little bit more fantastical. So it's okay if your proportions are a little bit off of what they should be on just a normal human being, but you can kind of mess with it. You can kind of stretch them out and around, try to figure out what is within reason for you. I think that I could probably stretch them out a little bit more than this, but I mean, really, for me, once you start getting past 10 head heights, it just starts getting pretty tough to keep it looking human without being just way too stretched out and has like way too small of a head compared to the body. So if you notice, we're trying to keep the head relatively in proportion with the body itself. But that being said, you could still draw on this grid another just normal sized human being, you know, maybe another just female character. They're usually like 5.5 to 6 head heights tall, and you can do that with the same exact head size and make a regularly proportioned human beside our giant character, and then you'd see like for sure that this giant is, you know, towering over this regular person. But for right now, that concludes this tutorial, and hopefully you found it helpful. I will see you in the next one.